Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Live with Alan and Greg. And today we have the Bookish Bryants, Scott and Becky. So everyone say hello to Scott and Becky tonight.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And if you're in the comments, just leave us a comment. Okay. So how are things going for you two?
Right now, they're going really well. Yeah, we're having a good time, getting ready for the holiday.
Hurtling towards Christmas.
Yeah.
And totally unprepared.
Yeah, that's kind of right. Because we work full time too, and trying to get. I mean, we're back to BookTube, but we're doing it really slow because we really pick up after the holidays.
Oh yeah. Oh, right now we're back and forth between my mother's house because we work over here, and going home when it's dark outside just sucks. And yeah, it's busy, but it should be picking up a lot more after Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at least in my house, Christmas is not a big deal. It's just me and my wife, and it's like, what do you want for a Christmas gift? It's like, well, we just go out and buy our stuff. We want it, so it's like,
oh yeah, I totally get that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to a Christmas party Friday.
Okay,
got that going on, but I got a couple of surprise gifts from BookTube friends. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Great.
Yeah. I sent something to Alan. So
cool.
Yeah, we're in a reading William Gaddis, so he surprised me with a Gaddis book.
Oh yeah, which one?
Oh, which one, Greg?
Produce Gothic.
Yeah, it's the thin one.
It's actually his reasonably sized.
Oh
book.
Yeah.
Yeah. JR recognitions. We've read JR recognitions.
Yeah, he has about 3 that are really pretty famous. I would say the Recognitions is probably his most famous book.
Yeah, that won the National Book Award.
Yeah.
JR is his other really big famous one.
Yeah, and it's about the same size, isn't it? It's a rather large book.
I have them both right up there.
Do you
like?
Here's JR.
Yeah.
Exercise things.
Cool. Okay, yeah, those are the the New York Review of Books
yes,
copies or something like that. Okay, yeah.
And that one won the National Book Award too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when we met Noah in Atlanta, he actually bought that book at half price books that day. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun.
Say hello to Mindy's journey.
That's the one Greg sent me.
Yep.
Hey, Mindy. Nice to see you.
Hi, Mindy.
Hey, Mindy.
Yeah, Mindy just broke 1,000 subscribers not too long ago.
Oh, that's cool. How long has Mindy been on BookTube?
7 years, I think.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Mindy's been doing it a long time. And she was actually one of the very first booktubers I ever watched when I found out BookTube was a thing. Mindy was one of the first ones. Mindy, Steve Donahue. I watched Alan. Alan, you were one of the first ones I watched. And it was because I heard Steve Donahue talking about your channel. So, yeah.
And how many years have you been on?
Us? Yeah, 3 years.
3 years.
Yep, 3 years. But of course, we took about 10 months off. So you could stay a little closer to 2.5. But yeah, about 3 years.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 years in May.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I knew you came on not too long after we did. I mean, it took us a little bit to hit a couple hundred subscribers, and that would have been about the time you came on is when we had about 200 subscribers, probably. Mm-hmm. Maybe 150, something like that.
Something like that. I know it took me a long time to get 100. It was like I hit 100 after I left Washington State, and I remember because I was in a temporary apartment waiting for my house down in Virginia to be built when I crossed
cool.
that 100 threshold. So,
okay. Are you in Virginia?
Yeah, I'm in Virginia.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was Virginia or Maryland. I knew it was one or the other, but I could not remember. I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, is it Virginia or Maryland? But because I have a friend for Virginia, but he's from Virginia, but he's a huge like Baltimore sports fan.
Okay.
So, yeah.
He's in Fredericksburg.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Civil War.
Cool.
Yeah, we Baltimore is a pretty city. I mean, it's got its rough spots for sure. I mean, we kind of walked through part, but I really like the waterfront of Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore's a place I've always wanted to visit. Like, never been there.
Mhm.
Have you?
Nope.
Yeah, you haven't either.
No, where's Baltimore?
Maryland.
Maryland?
That's
Yeah.
where-
Yeah, guys, I am geographically incorrect.
Okay, it's easy. It's think of Washington D.C. and then you go up a bit and you get to Baltimore, or if you go south, you get to Richmond.
yeah, that's where my friend Poe is buried. That's where Poe is buried.
I've never been to Washington. I've never actually been to Virginia. The farthest north on the eastern side I've ever been was North Carolina.
Okay.
But I've
Really?
been all the way up to Minnesota.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been further north,
but in the
just in a
Midwest.
further direction, in a further westerly direction. But I've been up to Minnesota and I've been up to Wisconsin, but I've never been further north on the East Coast than North Carolina.
All
And
right.
there's
Brian.
Brian was in the Gareth live stream, and that was funny. Scott was in it too. That's funny. I was too.
Yeah, I
Hey,
showed up for about 20 minutes, and then I had to stop. I had some things to do before this. So yeah. But yeah, we're glad to be on here. This is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
We love being invited. We love being invited to things like this, and of course, two of our favorite BookTube channels. So, you know.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the books we have been reading.
Okay.
And as the guests, you guys get to go first.
You want to go first?
Oh, guess what I'm reading?
I can guess
Romance.
what type of book.
It's romance.
How'd you guess? I'm reading a series that I've loved for a very long time. It's by R.L. Olvett, and it's an alien romance. It's a sci-fi romance. But it's the Xythling Mates series, and what I love about it is you cannot see that probably, but what I love about the books is they're very slice of life. Sorry.
No,
Okay.
yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah,
They're very slice of life books. They're all about the romances. There's no angst or pain or suffering, really. It's just all about the romance, and I absolutely love that. It makes me happy, and it helps that it's a Christmas romance. I have been reading all the Christmas romances.
You know, and another thing I'll say about like the alien romances, they're really calling them sci-fi romances now because they're actually becoming more sci-fi than they used to be.
There's a hefty dose of sci-fi in a lot of the romances I read. A very good dose of it. It's not what's the term? Is it high science fiction or
Hard science
hard?
fiction.
It's not hard science fiction by any means at all. But it does earn the title of science fiction.
Yeah.
It's just that the emphasis is more placed on the romance. But just to placate all of you really heavy duty readers out there, I did just recently finish Something Wicked This Way Comes,
Okay.
and it's the first time I've ever read the book, which I'm kind of embarrassed about that.
I've never read it.
no, I wouldn't be. I don't think I've read it. I don't think I've read it. You know, it's like I read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for Victober. I'd never read that. It's like one of those books that I thought I'd read it, but I never read it.
Yeah,
So,
I love Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
Oh,
Hyde.
that's a great one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
was
can't
with me.
recall who wrote Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Ray Bradbury.
Yeah, okay.
No,
I think that's the thing. The thing with me, something wicked this way come. The phrase is it's a household phrase.
Yeah.
Everybody uses it, and everybody thinks at some point, yeah, I've probably read that at some point. I have not read it at all.
Right.
I had no idea what that book was about. It was really good. It reminded me of what's that one book? Is that Boys of Summer?
Which one?
It
Summer of Night.
Summer of Night. That's the one.
Yeah, by Dan
Right,
Simmons.
yeah,
It reminded me a lot of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd like to read that. I like Dan Simmons.
That's a good book.
That is
I
good.
have to read that. That's
So-
one I
so-
haven't read by him.
So Becky, I picked up what I think is an alien romance for Garbagist or whatever. It's called Ice Planet Barbarians.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're going to read sci-fi romance, that's the place to start.
Okay.
Ruby Dixon, she's the queen of the sci-fi romance authors.
Yeah.
As far as just about anybody in that genre is concerned, because she's the one who really made it mainstream.
Okay.
And another thing about Ruby Dixon, a lot of people don't know, she was one of the early-ish Amazon success stories. One of the Amazon authors who was Amazon exclusive for a long time. She only released it to Kindle. Didn't even have paperbacks for a long time. And now she's a huge author with probably 15 novels, and I would imagine a couple $1 million in her pocket.
No, there's a lot more than 15 novels. She's probably got about 30.
Okay.
One thing about Ruby Dixon, just keep in mind, they're erotica. But they're
Greg's all right with that.
they're heavy duty.
I'm all over. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Me too. But also, one thing I really love about the Ice Planet Barbarian series is the further along the series goes, the more she delves into the world building and the sci-fi of everything that's going on. The first book is very, very much romance centered. You still get the sci-fi because, well, she's kidnapped by aliens, and that's where the book starts. But yet, the further she goes, the more she dives really, really deep into putting the technology in there and building the culture and the world. And it gets really, really more and more fascinating the longer it goes. But it's a very good series. I love those books.
Well, as I said, I have the first one that Garbagist or somewhere. It's not a very long book, so I figured on my 100 book challenge, I can read that in an afternoon, maybe a day, hopefully.
Yeah, it took me about 4 hours.
All right, I'm going to go through some
failed that
comments because I tend to get behind on my comments a lot.
Okay.
So let's say hi to Beth Hendy.
Hello, Beth.
My eyes are not good enough for this.
Hi, Beth. I haven't. Yeah, Liz Street. Those are two new names to me. I haven't
Raised in Newport News, Virginia, but now in California.
My brother lives in San Jose.
The West is the
I'm
best.
sorry.
The West is the best.
And we've got Almighty Olm.
Hello, Al.
Hello.
Medium John Silver. I've attended
Hello, Mr. Silver.
a Royals game and walked around the Inner Harbor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We heard that. We heard that title the other day, Medium John Silver, and loved it. That is so. It's so good.
No,
He's talking about that harbor of Baltimore. Yeah, they have pirate ships out there. Pirate ships, big, really cool looking.
Yeah, I think he was currently living in Florida, so maybe that's
Oh,
in
maybe
past. I don't know. You'll have to he'll make a comment if he wants to correct that. Mindy's book journey, Something Wicked Way This Comes, is a great book.
It really is.
Yeah, I just finished it as well, so we'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris Brevage is doing the full quote. By the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes.
Oh, it's from Macbeth. Thank you, Chris. I've
Oh,
been
no,
trying.
I knew there was a phrase before that, and
At a loss.
I didn't remember that until he said, "By the pricking of my thumbs."
It's certainly
Out, damn spot.
All right. So, if I were ever publishing a cart full of rattan furniture, I would certainly shout, "Look out! Something wicker this way comes." Ooh. Ooh.
That's a good
Oh, no. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Ah.
That's on the part of James Joyce.
Mex Libris, Greg, thank you for the A to Z tag. It's been fun watching so many booktubers doing it. Yeah, that tag just took off on a life of its own.
Indeed.
Are the Bryants frozen?
I think they are.
Let's give them. Oh, they're back.
They're still laughing. You guys were froze for a wee bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening. I think it's the wind. Most of the time, everything's fine. I mean, this is the first time we've had any problems in a while.
It is. Well, we've had like some gale force winds outside.
Yeah.
It's blowing in a good cold front.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we've had some strong winds here in Virginia. Not that it's blowing out the power, but you can listen to the rain and the wind at night when you're trying to sleep, and kind of like it because we like the.
I would like that too. I'd like that. I like to read. I like to read when it's like that rainy in Portland too.
Oh yeah, me too. That's the best time. So yeah, I'm actually right now in the middle of. You probably won't be able to see this for some reason. It's really light. This is the official book, but it's the Kraken Wakes by John Wyndham.
Oh, I just got that on my Kindle.
Yeah, this is my Nook. I just got it on my Nook. I should have got it on Kindle. The cover probably would have looked a little better. But yeah, it's great. I just started it last night. It's my first book for Winter of Wyndham that Gareth is doing.
Yep, I have that as one of my possibilities that I'm going to do. I just did Day of the Triffids. Yes.
What'd you think about that?
Well, it's one of my all-time favorite science fiction books. This is like
I love it too. Yeah,
4th or 5th time I've read it, somewhere around there.
Okay,
I need to read that.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. It's great. It is top 10 science fiction for me easily.
I think I'll make that my New World's November book.
Yeah, do that. It's less than 250 pages, I think.
Depends on the edition.
Yeah,
I had an edition with a little bit larger print, which my age, I'm thinking, yay, larger print. 70 or something like that. But that would definitely count. We definitely count that if for New World's November, if it's got a large.
Oh.
But also going to be doing a reread of the Midwich Cuckoos.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to be reading. I haven't read it yet. I want to read it in February. And next month I'm reading the Chrysalids. So yeah,
Chrysalids. Okay, I have that as Rebirth. It's under both titles.
Oh, I did not know that.
I'll get my glasses.
I'm pretty sure that's the original British title was the Chrysalids, and then American publication was Rebirth.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that. The original publication title was Rebirth.
No, that's
outside of the U.S.
Chrysalids. Rebirth is the American title.
Okay, I got you.
But either way, that's the post-apocalyptic one set somewhere in the future after a nuclear war or something like that.
Okay, man, he is just an excellent writer. And the Kraken Wakes is his second novel, and I was reading it last night, and I was thinking, man, this is a great second novel. I mean, this guy has got some chops. Hey,
Link. It is Link, right?
Yep, that's Link.
That's Link.
Yeah, you can tell he's getting pretty gray. He's 13 years old now. But man, he's still just like a puppy. Still
That's
like
good.
a puppy.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, I'm excited about getting into more of these Wyndham books. The Day of the Triffids, and I think a few of his short stories are all that I've read of his, and I've loved everything I've read so far. I mean, the guy's great.
I've heard a lot about him. I'll have to put him on my TBR.
Yeah, I've read Chalky too.
Okay. That's the one that Gareth is reading right now. He said Chalky is one dream. And there was a movie, a BBC presentation of that as well, that I have not seen. So I've never seen any of the Day of the Triffids adaptations either.
Yeah, I've seen there was an American version in the 50s.
Oh, okay.
And it was really bad.
Okay.
Can I spoil the ending for a movie that old, you think?
I think you can.
I think we can. So, it's the same sort of. I don't know if everyone went blind in that movie. They might have, but they're being attacked by the Triffids. Like in a lighthouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're going up the lighthouse, and the guy gets a fire hose, which is connected to seawater. And he sprays the Triffids. Oh, seawater will kill the Triffids. Yay, the world is saved.
Wow. Do you think the studios got involved there or what? Because
yeah, you think so?
Man, that is nuts. I mean, you could spoil that movie all day long and tell nobody anything about the book.
Right. Well, I thought about that, because I reread it this month, and I'm not spoiling anything to say that the main character was a Triffid expert.
Right.
Yes. And he gets involved, like, well, what can we do about these things? And it's never really resolved in the book, but it's like, I'm going to try to find a way to an effective like pesticide or herbicide or whatever he's going to try to do to get rid of the Triffids. But
right, that almost seems like that. You remember the movie Signs from M. Night Shyamalan?
I didn't see it.
I do.
I didn't see it.
That was good with Mel Gibson.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty good movie. But that's how they ended that movie. Was
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's good. But was the one thing that killed aliens
with this regular water, and that's why all the crop circles are out in the middle of big farming areas, because there are no big bodies of water around.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm drinking so many liquids. I'm on a new medication and I have to drink a lot of water.
Okay. I've got my tea, so
I've got my coffee.
Cool.
Well,
yeah, cool. Yeah, mine is actually not water this time. It's Diet Pepsi, but I just finished the water before we started. But yeah,
I'm a cherry Coke drinker myself.
Oh yeah, I like that too. And cherry Pepsi's another one I like. Oh, cool. Mindy's read The Midwich Cuckoos.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I like the movie based on it as well. Village of the Damned or Children of the Damned. Children of the Damned, I believe. And that was a great movie. It came out in like early 60s in England. Awesome. Based on the Midwich Cuckoos. Loved it.
Oh, that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah. Creepy.
Yeah. Creepy children are always extremely creepy.
Have you seen that? The movie that was based on the Midwich Cuckoos?
I did, but it was probably early 80s, maybe even the 70s when I saw it on TV. So I cannot be.
Yeah, it's an early 60s movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very good, very well done. Very interesting that, how that story, and it's pretty obviously a Wyndham story as well. I mean, it just flows just like Day of the Triffids or any of that stuff. But yeah.
Okay. Let's get to a couple more. Years ago, the 50s Day of the Triffids was my first Netflix DVD rental. Needless to say, it was about 7 years before I subscribed to the streaming service.
Yeah. Did you know that Netflix just ended their DVD service? They grandfathered everybody who was into it back in, or they grandfathered them in, and it ended a month and a half ago. They were still doing their DVD service.
I did not know that.
And not just the streaming service. They just ended
I did not know that. I mean, I had it subscribed for a while, and then we dropped it because we weren't watching it, and we said, why are we paying X amount for stuff we never get? But
yeah.
And they just canceled it. Signs was a cool movie. The Tinfoil Hats.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
All right, Beth, never read Wyndham till now. Love Day of the Triffids. Going to read Midwich Cuckoos next month. Village of the Damned movie freaked me out as a kid.
I can see that. I mean, those kids with the big eyes and everything. You know, I can see how that would be creepy when somebody was a kid.
You know, now here's Chris saying Children of the Damned. Is it the same movie or is it a different movie?
Children of the Damned, I believe, was the 1990 version or something like that. It had Mark Hamill in it.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was pretty cool. It was a John Carpenter movie, actually.
Really?
And sure was. And we're big John Carpenter fans.
Children of the Damned was 1964.
Okay. Children of the Damned was 64. Village of the Damned was 1990 or so. Yeah. Okay. We're
95.
Okay, 1995. Okay,
Reeve?
Yeah, that's right. Christopher Reeve
and Kirstie Alley.
And I was thinking Mark Hamill was in it. Am I wrong? I think Mark Hamill plays a priest.
Michael Paré.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Reverend George.
Yeah. Mark Hamill's been in a lot of stuff.
I like Mark Hamill. He's
All
a
right.
character.
All right, let's see what Alan has been reading.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know what my favorite John Carpenter film is?
What's that?
Probably They Lived.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, you know that with Rowdy.
Becky watched it.
With Roddy Piper.
Roddy Piper.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I love that movie so much.
With the glasses and all the subliminal ads and but so anyway, in our Chrysalids Christmas group, I'm reading the biography In the Mountains of Madness.
Oh,
and then I might as well admit I DNF'd the Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
The sex just got too over the top for me, and the repeated. It was like what it must be like having a pelvic exam. I don't know, like Top Gun with dragons and potty mouth YAs. Just how many times can you? I don't know. So
Alan, I knew you were going to read that, and I was thinking I'm going to be surprised if Alan likes this book. So, I mean, it would have surprised me if you had liked it, because I kind of know a little bit about it, and it doesn't seem like our kind of book too much.
I heard about it, and I said, I don't think I'd like this, except someone described it as dragon porn.
Oh yeah.
Okay, dragon porn, maybe, but it's I have this problem. And I sort of talked about it in a video that I released today, where if you have characters in a book who are teenagers, it just automatically kind of turns me off immediately.
And, well, it's hard to do well. It's hard not to make them just so freaking annoying that they're hard to read about. It's hard not to make them annoying.
I tend to read characters more than I more than just about anything. I like diving into the characters, and I can't put myself in a teenager mindset anymore.
Even though we were all there at one point many decades ago, you know.
Yeah, she just started out with the in the novel with a bunch of just YA potty mouths, just dropping F-bombs and even worse. And I sound like a prude, and I'm not, of course. But for me to say that the profanity was too much is kind of saying a lot.
Well, and I can see that, especially when it seems shoehorned. I mean, I've read books like that where the profanity just seems like it's there just to be edgy and for no other good reason. So,
it's kind of like the first time I watched Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
The profanity of that movie just freaked me out.
Me too. I saw it in the theater back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. But I saw it opening day.
Yeah. I saw it was my baby's mama back in the. That was like that 90s. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm also, this is an unusual book. It's on the Portland bridges.
Oh, wow.
Bridges of Portland. And I've been studying that because I'm going to do some artwork, draw some bridges. Okay. Yeah. And then last but not least, Greg's got me digging this book out, Zen M Beginners Mind. We're going to maybe end the year with this.
Yep. Trying to.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a cool bookmark in here for Shambalama Publications, the Shambalama magazine. But
who wrote that?
Suzuki, but the other Suzuki. His name is. I like the font on the cover of this. You can barely read it. Let me pronounce his first name is Sunruku. Yeah, Sunruku Suzuki.
Okay.
As opposed to there's another Suzuki too.
Something I've noticed. Japanese, especially Japanese fiction, they're releasing a lot of it in the U.S. right now.
Are they?
Yeah. I've been seeing it, especially this year. They're releasing stuff from Japan that came out in 2014 and 2015 in Japan, and it's just getting a release here. So I guess it's picking up an audience. So
now,
there's a lot.
Piggy banking off the manga audience, whatever.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, as they're growing up.
Yeah.
That's probably true. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's a very good point.
Well, this book isn't fiction; it's more meditation, and that it's a classic Buddhist meditation Zen book.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
Zen M Beginners Mind. Yeah, real thin, but it's a classic book. I like. I've read it 2-3 times. It's a easy read, but
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Now, when you talk about Japanese fiction, I read this last month. This is Almost Transparent Blue by Ru Murakami. Originally
I saw you talk about that.
It's originally written in the 70s. And I think in the 70s, it was probably extremely edgy. I mean, because it touched on drug addicts and basically open sex, which I guess back then was
taboo.
Probably they didn't want to admit that was going on.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's as a novel, it just did not work having drug addicts and sex. Now, I have read books about drug addicts, some are really good. The Man with the Golden Arm by Nelson Algren.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever read that.
I've seen the movie.
It's about heroin guy, isn't it?
I think it's morphine, not heroin, but still, it's all about drug, and you really got an impression of how desperate they were. But this one, it's just kids doing drugs, and because they're much younger in this book, so it's it's part of that. And I just as a work of translated fiction, I just did not like it at all. Just did not work. But it's interesting what you say that there's a whole influx of translated Japanese books.
Yeah, and really, what's surprising me is they're not new. These are books that were released. Some of them as long as a decade ago in Japan, and they're just making their way here. So that's what's making me think that they're gaining an audience, because they're. I mean, why else would you bring in a book that's 10 years old?
Maybe.
Great. Didn't you and I, buddy, read Silence?
Yes, by Endo. That was from earlier, but that was a good one. That was
Scorsese did the movie too.
I you know me, Alan. I don't.
Yeah, you don't really
I don't watch the movie, but Endo was a Japanese Catholic talking about the conversion of Catholicism.
Yeah, it was brutal
during the 17th century or the 18th century. I can't
recall
early on when the Japanese said it was illegal to be a Catholic.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
And it's really fascinating because there's scenes where you have secret Catholic people, and their test was you had to step on a picture of the Mother Mary to prove you were not Catholic.
A lot of torture in it too. A lot of torture.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Did you say it's called Silence?
Yeah.
Silence.
Okay.
Great. Oh, I'm going to get a few comments here. Because I saw a comment down below I really want to talk about. Steve Donahue, many decades. I was a teenager only 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, we went to school with trilobites, okay? I'm going to skip a couple comments because someone just made someone right here that I actually want to talk about. Waiting for the Station was a good book. Has anyone read F. Paul Wilson? I just discovered him this year and read The Tomb and The Keep. I want to mention this because I read The Keep earlier this year.
Wow.
And The Tomb about a month or two ago. And just today, I finished his book, The Touch.
Wow. What a coincidence.
So yes. And I originally read these in the late 80s and early 90s, and they're really good. The Keep is originally supposed to be a standalone novel. The Tomb was supposed to be a standalone novel, and The Touch was also supposed to be a standalone novel. And then he wrote a series of 3 books, Reborn, Reprisal, and Night World, which was a direct sequel to The Keep. But in the final, I hope this is not a spoiler, but in Night World, he brings back characters from The Tomb and The Touch. So he brings those in together as sort of a series.
Okay.
And they're very good.
I've seen the movie of The Keep, but I've never read the book. And I know it's pretty well thought of, actually. So that's something I need to put down to read.
It is. I remember seeing the movie of The Keep, and when it was originally released in the 80s. So, but I really liked that novel. He worked the historical, because it was set in World War II. I don't know if you remember, but so the general premise is you have a German detachment going to Romania to guard a pass that may or may not have soldiers marching through it. And then they discover this keep, and of course, something's in the keep.
Uh-huh.
It was good.
It really does sound like something I need to read too, because I mean that's right up my alley too.
Sounds good.
It is.
Yeah.
I think The Tomb is better.
Oh, really?
I do.
Okay.
That one is kind of a mixed. It starts off with a guy he's a criminal living on the edge. And what he does for a living is he fixes things that the law cannot fix.
Okay.
And it can involve criminal activity and violence, but trying to bring justice where you're not going to get justice in the real world.
Right.
And that's
That sounds,
Yes, sir.
those
that's
sound
the
great.
character. That's the character. But it starts off with him being hired for 2 different jobs. And of course, these jobs are it's a novel. It's no secret that that his 2 independent jobs are going to be merging sometime in the book.
Right.
And it deals with a little bit of Hindu mythology.
Okay.
And so I really like that one. And now The Touch, I think is probably the weakest of those books. And not to give it's about a doctor who gets the ability to heal people miraculously.
Cool.
And that's all I'll give,
Okay.
but so they're good.
Okay.
I mean, definitely,
Yeah.
and I would definitely read them in order. I'd pick up The Keep.
Okay. I'll take that as a recommendation then.
Yeah.
I'll probably get that tonight, actually. Start with The Keep and read that when I'm finished with the Wyndham book. Because it's been on my TBR forever anyway. So
I'll just jump in here briefly. Scott and I are going to buddy read the Salman Rushdie book early next year.
yes, we are.
Midnight's Children. So
Yep.
that looks promising. We're bound to learn something out of this. When I think about it, I've learned more by reading fiction than probably nonfiction, and you tell people that and they don't believe you. You go, yeah,
Right.
I've learned more from fiction than nonfiction. Well,
Yeah, and a lot of that are the authors you read. I mean, if you read, like Foucault's Pendulum and Salman Rushdie, I mean, you will learn a lot about.
Jewish mysticism if you read Foucault's Pendulum. Huh.
Yeah, and you'll learn you'll learn some of the Quran when you read the Satanic verses. All that kind of stuff. So yeah. It just makes it easier to swallow a lot of times, I think.
So, Greg, what have you been reading?
Okay, I'm just catching up with the comments here.
Okay.
Let's go in. Beth also liked The Keep and the sequels.
Cool.
Repairman Jack, I think, is a series by Wilson. Yeah, that's another thing he did. What I told you, how The Tomb was an independent novel.
Yeah.
And then he wrote him into this final book of this trilogy, which is an end book, very much so. But he liked his character so much, he decided to write all these other books with that character in between these books afterwards.
Okay, cool.
So I think the ones in between Repairman Jack are more sort of like thriller books rather than horror, books. They're just standard like mystery books or whatever, helping people out.
Right.
I've never read any of those. The Select by F. Paul Wilson is also good. Okay. I've done all the F. Paul Wilson questions out of order. Let me go back and try to make sure I'm not skipping anyone. Steve Donahue, the teenage years are a perfect age to solve murders and expose conspiracies, according to top pop fiction. And I don't, that's why I just set them down. I said, no, I'll go on. Devil Woman from Mars is an excellent 1954 movie, free on YouTube, featuring a robot from Mars named Johnny.
Huh. Never seen it.
Steve Donahue likes Silence by Endo. He also thinks the movie's fantastic.
Yeah, the movie's good. Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, William. Hey, Gareth. We were talking about John Wyndham when you weren't here.
Yeah. Hey, Gareth. Long time no see, Gareth.
Hello, Bad.
That's
Hello.
Bad.
Hey, Gareth. How's it going?
You can learn something about just about anything from Folcott's Pendulum. Now, Folcott's Pendulum is a book I read when it was first published, and I don't think I was old enough or smart enough to understand that book.
Probably not.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult from what I hear. I know Jason Harrigan loves it. Like he is a huge fan of that book.
It's kind of difficult to read all around.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, if you know the Tree of Life and the Sephiroths, I got a Tree of Life right up there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, very cool. I do.
Yeah, that's from the BOTA. But so you know the Sephiroth in that, and you know the tarot cards and how they the pathways line up with the tree of life exactly. That's what the Foucault's pendulum is about. In a way, all the chapters are named after the Sephiroth, like Malkuth and Kether and.
Oh, that's very cool.
Okay, all that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
All right. What I've been reading, finishing up the Dharma Bums by Jack Kerouac. This book is.
You don't like it?
I started it on Friday afternoon, and I'm still slogging through it.
Oh, you didn't like it?
There's just something off-putting about Jack Kerouac that it's hard to put my fingers on. It's all this roaming around and drinking.
Yeah, they're hiking. They're hiking the mountain.
Hiking, and you go to parties, and all of a sudden the women decide to take their clothes off and dance around. Okay, that would have been fun in real life, but I don't think that really happens in real, at least no real life situation that I've ever been invited to.
Yeah.
So it's a slog for me. I'm going to finish. I have one chapter left. I'm going to probably finish it tonight, but it's part of my reading about Buddhism project. Seeing how Buddhism fits in fiction, and it's there. It's actually helped that I've read a lot of other Buddhist books this month, so I can get some of what he's talking about. Because Jack Kerouac obviously was influenced by Buddhism when writing in this book.
Yeah,
right.
It's just, as I said, it's just not captivating me, and I'm glad
to join him. I read a long time ago.
I still have. I finished all the books I had intended to read for my project, but once you start these kind of projects, other books pop up that you want to read. Oh, I'll read that one too. So, like Zen M Beginners Mind. So that's what I've been reading. I told you about the audiobook of The Touch that I just finished. So that's what I've been reading.
Okay. There is one other one that I'm reading that I completely forgot about.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. I've got one on audio that I'm reading too.
Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I completely forgot. Yeah, it's great. I just completely forgot. I'm actually, because I haven't read it since Friday because I've had so much crap going on. But that's the reason we couldn't get back with you last night until like 9 o'clock or something. It was nuts. But yeah, Children of Time is great so far. Loving it.
Yeah, yes. I've also got an audiobook going. I'm reading the 14th book in the Heather Graham series, The Crew of Hunters.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love those books, although they're starting to drive me crazy with the enemies to lovers thing. Every book. Everyone starts out that way.
Yeah, I have trouble.
Becky, I missed what you said. Something about every book has
enemies to lovers thing.
Enemies to lovers. Okay.
Yeah.
Every single book, the first time they meet, they cannot stand each other. And I'm like, just once, I want to see some chemistry.
I'm also reading this droll philosophy book with Grits, the dialectic of enlightenment.
Yeah, I remember you showing me that one.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, but luckily mine has annotations from somebody else. So
is it just completely dry and opaque?
It's pretty dry, yeah.
Yeah.
Grits keeps saying it's going to get better. We're already on chapter 3. You can went through the Odyssey, and I kind of like that. I'm not a Odyssey scholar. I know the Odyssey from Ulysses more than from Homer. I know it better from Joyce, but so there was a chapter on that, and I like mythology, but
Yeah, I looked at that and I said, I don't want to read something that slow and dry right now. I just at some point I'm just like I'm too old to care anymore.
Right. Well, it has taken me all week to find like during the day I do an audio book while I'm working. So that's Children of Time. And then at night I do a print book. So I'm doing the Wyndham book. But before that I tried a book by Matthew Riley. I don't know if you know that author or not.
The author.
What about him?
I've heard of the author.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, his books they're fun, but oh my God, they're dumb. They are Indiana Jones and James Bond, and then you put both of them on steroids. And it is, I mean, it has some really fun stuff in it, but it has some really stupid things that happen in these books. Like
that's entirely too much charisma in one human being.
Yeah.
Don't call stupid.
Now this sounds like a problem that I had when I read Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. The ending, and this is true for Stephen King. He puts too much into the ending, and like I said, you can have one coincidence that kicks things off. Like in this book, is the big drug bust, and the big drug bust deviates lots of attention, and then something else deviates attention and something else, and you get to the point where characters are put into a situation that really they would never be put into.
Right.
It totally shatters belief. Or when characters, or I don't know, or when you say all these, Matt Wright, he's lots of like, I lost my train of thought. Your two references.
Oh, James Bond and Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. It's too much, and it's too much in one location just to believe.
Right.
Are you talking about like the bomb scene in that, Greg? The bomb scene where he's got the bomb at the concert at Mr. Mercedes?
Right. Too much was going on.
Yeah, like how did he sneak the bomb in?
Yeah. And it's like I was telling Alan, like the willing suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, you have to do that. You have to do that.
And my metaphor is, think of willing suspension of disbelief as an elevator.
Yeah, elevator.
You have to, suspend it, to get up to the top. But some elevators are old European elevators in apartment buildings where you can fit 2 or 3 people on. 4 people, it's not going to the top. And then you have these super deluxe elevators where you can drive your SUV with 10 people. It'll take you right to the top. When Stephen King writes, he's expecting you to be on one of those super elevators that just whatever you throw on it, you'll just accept. And
Becky and I
mind that part. I like Mr. Mercedes.
It's not a bad book. It's just it was not my favorite.
The thing about Stephen King is he's expected that level of suspension of disbelief since the beginning. And so he hasn't really tried to change his ways to fit into that level of trust. And,
right, like pets coming back to life, Pet Cemetery. And
that in itself is fine, because that's all, like, at least in Pet Cemetery, that's all that he had in that book.
Oh, he didn't pile it down.
He didn't, and I may not remember it correct, but it's like you put your pet and it comes back to life, and then the pet can fly across the room or whatever. Yeah. It's just really a reanimated pet, which when you think about it, is probably a lot scarier than a pet with superpowers back from the day. Because you say,
to get your pet back, and it's kind of twisted. Can you imagine getting Teddy back? Teddy's not quite right. Teddy's not quite right, That'd be horrific.
It would be.
Yeah. Yeah, Stephen King has written some of my all-time favorite books, and Stephen King has written some of my all-time least favorite books. I mean,
no self-control.
there doesn't seem to be an in between with his books for me. It's like they're either From a Buick 8, which is absolutely the worst book I have ever read in my life, like the absolute worst novel I've ever read.
Oh.
And then he writes Salem's Lot, which is one of my all-time favorite horror novels.
Yeah.
You know, Salem's Lot was very well done.
And he's written one of my favorites and one of my least favorites as well. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
okay, Becky, what's your favorite and what's your least favorite?
My favorite is The Shining.
Okay.
That's one of the only books that's ever actually made me put the book down because it scared me so bad. I have a true phobia of animated and inanimate objects, and the topiary scene scared me half to death.
Really?
I was reading that book at 3:00 in the morning. I'm like, nope. I had to put it down and walk away from it for like 2 days because it scared the crap out of me. But on the other end, and I'm putting this whole series as one book, was the Dark Tower series. I've never been so mad at a final book as I was with that book. It's one of the very few books I've chucked across the room because I totally did. And I'm still mad about it. Like, 5 years later?
Now you see, I read those books. What really got me going was the Wolves of Kala or something.
Yeah, that's like the fourth one.
Where he started writing himself into the book.
Yeah.
That's Becky's problem with it.
Right. And he did that in the book 8. He really came out and wrote himself into book 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the thing is,
that was with the Frisbees.
The thing is that some authors have done something very similar very well.
Yeah.
But it's it's a subtle art. The one I remember is a book called Some Clouds, and it's a Mexican author. It's Paco Ignacio Tabo II.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now that's just and the idea is that you have a detective in Mexico, and he's stuck on his case, and so he says, "I know someone I should talk to get some advice from." The detective in the story goes to the author of the book.
Oh,
and he goes, "I'm a little stuck here. Can you give me some advice?" So the author is giving his character advice on how to solve his case.
See, that's kind of fun.
And that's all it is. It's one chapter. And that's all that it is. And it's not so obvious that it's hitting you in the head like a sledgehammer, which I think Stephen King does. Now, also, Becky, it's mentioned when you talk about the topiaries in The Shining. There's 2 scenes of topiaries in The Shining. One with just a kid, which I thought was super creepy. And then there's a one at the end, and here's my logical mind going, how's a ghost going to do that to a topiary? That would take an awful lot of power and energy to do that to a topiary. And I'm going,
I read that different.
What?
I read that different. I didn't read it as the ghost doing that. The way I saw it was the hotel. Was it the Stanley Hotel? What was it?
Overlook.
It was based on the Stanley Hotel. The way I saw it was the hotel in the book was sick building syndrome. The hotel itself had taken on a supernatural presence because of all the horror and negativity that was taking place within its walls. So it seems to me like the topiaries were just taking energy from the building itself, not from the ghosts.
Well, ghosts are building. It's still that when you talk about suspension of disbelief, I said a ghost or entity could fool a kid into thinking they were moving.
Sure.
But
which is almost creepier because you can put yourself right in the situation.
Right. But to actually have them run around and chase the cook, I'm going, yeah, not for me.
Yep.
No, the first topiary scene was actually the scariest one. It wasn't the kid, it was the dad.
It was the dad?
The dad that was walking out of the topiary garden. And the thing about it is he was walking out and he knew there was something wrong. He just didn't know what. But he looked back and all of the topiaries had moved like 3 inches. And that's not a big move, but it's enough to say, yeah, I need to get out of this garden.
Now, see, that works because it's in the mind mostly and not a physical danger.
Yeah, and the dad is gradually going insane from the beginning of the book to the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's left up. It's left up to the person reading.
Yep.
To make up their mind. I think that can be done very well.
Oh yeah.
All right.
But yeah, Stephen King is about as subtle as a sledgehammer, and especially when.
But see, Becky, when he is subtle, it's really good. Now, there's a scene again in The Shining with Jack in the storage room, and he's locked in.
Yeah.
And he's been banging on that for an hour, and he falls down exhausted. And then someone whispers, if you're going to do something to that kid, we'll let you out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the lock falls off. And in my mind, you say, maybe just all that pounding weakened it to the point it just fell off. Or maybe not. And that's where that subtlety comes in. It really works well.
He does subtle well in The Shining. I think that's honestly one of the reasons I like the book so much. It's where he shines. But when he showed up in the Dark Towers books, if I remember correctly, I looked at Scott and I said, this is bullshit.
I agree.
Oh my God. There's one scene at the very end of the 7th book, and I'm not giving any spoilers away, just I promise. But it breaks the 4th wall, which has already been blown to smithereens at that point, and the author says, I wish I could tell you that they all lived happily ever after. I wish I could tell you that they all got together and lived happily together in some faraway land. And I'm like, you're the author, you can.
Well, that's just kind of lazy.
It's mean spirited. It's what it is.
Now, Becky, there is a tradition in authors doing stuff like that. Anthony Trollope, who was a Victorian novelist, often talked like that, saying like he comes in and says, I am the author, I'm describing. So there is a little bit of history of authors doing stuff like that. But
I agree. I absolutely agree. But it's another one of those things that can be done well. But at that point, Stephen King had already written himself into these novels. Right. At that point, he was being he was being selfish and keeping himself there.
Well, at that point, you're 7 books in, and again, that's one of those Stephen King things that just isn't going to fly with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's basically just saying if you're expecting something good to happen, stop now.
All right. Let me catch up with some comments because we've been talking and going good, and people are commenting like mad, and
it's like 14 pages of comments that we've just like ignored.
Yeah.
I love you all. I'm terribly sorry.
I know. Yeah. The problem is when you get talking. It's part of the chat room.
Yeah. Especially when we start ranting about Stephen King.
Kerouac is very rambly. The comment that Truman Capote gave on Kerouac was, "That's not writing, that's typing."
Yeah, I remember that quote.
That's the same argument of listening to an audiobook is not reading. You're still taking in the information. Shush.
Yeah. Well, they said Kerouac wrote on like a toilet paper roll.
He did. He did on a paper roll for On the Road, but Yeah, that's part of it.
Huh.
I'm much too square for Kerouac, Kesey, etc. Product of a military school and household.
Oh, well, now we like Kesey. We like Kesey, Pacific Northwest up here.
I sometimes a great notion is Kesey's other novel besides One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I really like that novel. It's a.
What about Sailor Song?
I tried to read Sailor Song and DNF'd it.
Oh, you did? I never tried.
No,
but he's got a big rack on the University of Oregon campus in Eugene. He's got a rack with his name on it.
It does. But what happened was after Sometimes a Great Notion, Kesey discovered LSD.
Yeah.
And then he really got into LSD.
Oh,
I was in Vancouver.
Now you're talking about my hobbies, Greg.
There we go. All I have to do is drop you and add you. You come back.
I don't know what's wrong. Sorry about that.
Well,
right.
No one cares.
I'm the one dropping off.
I am reading Jihad, the Ottomans and the Allies, 1914 and 1922. It is a thin and well-written history of the Ottoman Empire in World War II and the Turks' experience for War of Independence. Okay.
Cool.
I'm joining Historathon, and that's going to fit one of the categories, so maybe I'll consider it. Hey, Book Blather Dave.
Hey, Dave.
I know that was like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, all the guys from Garrett's live stream are back. Dad was on, me.
Yeah. Byron
was in the comments over there.
I don't think I've read anything Stephen King published since the early 90s or so. Is any of his more recent stuff particularly worth checking out?
Yeah. I think I liked. Well, they made a television show of it. Now I can't remember the name of it, but it was one of the Holly Gibney novels.
That's what I'm reading right now. I'm doing a whole series. Read all the Holly Gibney novels.
Okay. Yeah. The first one, I believe, is the one I like so much.
Mr. Mercedes. That's the one with the guy who drove the Cadillac. Or no, not the Cadillac, the Mercedes.
No, it was actually the series right after that, I believe. That's the Bill Hodges series, right?
Right.
I can't remember what it's called though. But they made a television show of it. They did a Mr. Mercedes as well, but they made a television show. It's about a creature who mimics, and I cannot remember.
Well, I'm going to be getting to that one in January and February for the other Bill Hodges. So,
cool. Okay.
Because I'm doing all 6 of the Holly Gibney novels, one a month.
Cool. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I like that one. I think it's worth getting into.
Yeah. So, Christina, waiting at the station with a good book. That sounds really interesting. I might have missed a comment from someone. Oh, well. Sorry, Christina. Byron, 11/23/64 is her favorite Stephen King book.
You like that one a lot too, don't you?
I love that book, and it's because Stephen King didn't write the ending.
Yeah, Joe Hill actually wrote the ending for that book.
Wait a second, I never heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Hill wrote the end of 11/20. Let's say 11/22/64.
11/22/63.
11/22/63.
At what point did he pick up?
You.
Do you know?
No, I'm not sure. Not sure at all. I just know he wrote the ending, and it's actually very, very obvious. It has a surprisingly hopeful ending that I did not expect from such a heavy subject matter. The end of that book actually had me in tears. It was really good.
Now you see,
I had my mute on. I've been talking with my mute on.
I really like. I really liked that book until the ending, when you start getting into all these time travel rules. If you remember,
Mm-hmm.
And this is a pet peeve of mine. Is why would Time care what changes or not?
Right.
And I have a theory, and it's not really a spoiler, but it has to do with the assassination of JFK. And if you prevent it, and then history change, things in history change. But the way he wrote it is like California is having earthquakes because you see Kennedy wasn't assassinated. And
the way he changed the present was way over the top.
But the thing is, here's my problem: is like if I was an author and let's say, okay, Kennedy belongs to a political party, right? And if you change it and it's for the better, well, someone from the opposite political party goes, "You're being mean to my party." And if Kennedy does really bad, the people of that party, "You're being mean to my party because of Kennedy." Here, it has nothing to do with what actually Kennedy did. And therefore, he can get away from any sort of people pointing blame of being politically biased.
Yeah. It was, I see that. I didn't even think about that when I read the book, but you make a very good point.
And it says here, like the original ending about married man, Trevor Anderson, whatever, and his 11 grandchildren, the ending was changed to the published version at the suggestion of King's son. At the suggestion, it doesn't say he wrote it, but that's just Wikipedia.
Okay.
All right.
I still prefer to think Hill wrote it because I don't like Stephen King.
Oh,
you never know.
I read Nosferatu. That's a good Christmas read. Nosferatu.
Yeah, we went on vacation and we listened to half of that on the way to Missouri when we went on vacation, and then we never finished it on the way back like we were supposed to. So we need to do that.
I think we really stopped. Things are getting really hinky.
Well, yeah.
One of the characters was
I don't remember.
Kind of an awful character. I can't remember.
But we need to finish it.
Need to remind ourselves of what was happening anyway.
Yeah.
So
the girl was riding a bike over a bridge and could like travel through time.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you know me well enough,
time travel.
It's too much for me.
Did you try to read Nosferatu, Greg?
I did read it.
Oh, you did?
I like parts of it.
The evil Christmas guy, and that was crazy.
So Gareth, I don't think he likes it on Pet Cemetery, Carrie, Joyland, later Colorado, Salem's Lot. I don't know what he's talking about.
I've lost the context now.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you're really late with the comments.
Yeah.
Christine, that's an amazing book. Beth, The Shining is also my favorite. The bathtub scene.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with the old lady.
Between Buick-8 and The Cell.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind The Cell. I had fun with that one.
We read it right after it came out. I think that helped.
Yeah, and I think there was nothing crazy huge over the top with it.
Yeah. Well, and we were into zombie stuff at the time.
That's true.
So yeah, that helped.
That.
But, yeah.
I think Criminology says Buick-8 is better than it gets credit for. He just recently read it. I've not read it. I read it when it was a new book, so I don't remember anything about it.
Ollie, I hope you're not watching this, but no, that book is awful.
my least favorite King book is probably The Langoliers.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like that very well. About the airplane. And then Brandy was talking about the dome. I think I DNF'd the dome. It was
under
way
the dome.
too long.
It took me 3 attempts. It took me 3 attempts, just like The Stand. I finished The Stand and Under the Dome, and I wish I'd never read either one of them. They were just
The Stand. Randall Flagg.
I never finished Under the Dome. I got to my first gang rape scene. I was like, yeah, no, never mind.
Oh, yeah, Lord. Yeah, Becky was talking about the Stand. I like the Stand too, like with that Garbage Can Man and Randall Flagg and the old lady.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I just didn't care for it, but I'm kind of famous for how much I hate the Stand.
I've never read
it. Yeah,
you never read it? I've read like the uncut version of it and all that.
Yeah, I've read.
I'm a big fan from way back.
Yeah, when it came out, it was like a 900-page book. The original, it was cut way down. But then, nobody now will. I don't think anybody will edit Stephen King anymore. I seriously doubt.
Right.
He gets much editing at all anymore. He's too big.
Right. See, I'm really well read in crime fiction too. A lot of people might not know. A lot of time. I had a lot of time alone, put it like, and I had a lot of time to read, so I read all crime fiction. Grisham, Michael Connelly,
love that
James
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, going back to what Brian was saying is that not Brian, Scott, is that Stephen King doesn't get edited because when The Stand came out, he was still a fairly newish author.
Exactly.
His book is just too long. I don't think they cut it because what he wrote was necessarily bad.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to publish a book that long.
Yeah, they wanted to sell it.
Right. And now if Stephen King were to come out with a 3,000-page novel, they'd bind it all together and sell it for $50 and it would go off the shelves. Yeah.
And all they fix are his punctuation and his spelling, and then it goes out on the shelf.
That or they turn it into a 7-book saga in which you have to wait like a year between each book and get to the 7th book and realize you spent hours on this series that you wish you hadn't.
Yeah.
I might be projecting.
Yep. Book song. It's so good. It makes me want to read more alternative history time travel. Talking about the 11/23/63.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about how good it is. Yes, Becky, that's my take.
Yeah, I liked the novel as well. I really liked it.
Is much more subtle than the film. True.
I agree. I'm actually not a huge fan of the film. So.
Yeah, I liked. I liked the Shining film. I actually really did like it. It did not even remotely touch the book.
No.
But it's funny. The Jack Torrance. I thought the guy who played the miniseries, Jack Torrance, did a better job than Jack Nicholson. I can't remember his name. He's the guy from Tim Daly.
Yeah. Well, like in a lot of Stephen King books, there's alcoholism in it. And in the book, The Shining, he goes much more into Torrance's alcoholism and like the bar scene where he's going through like the DTs actually. And hallucinating people. But yeah, Stephen King's The Shite.
Yeah, Jack Torrance is the ultimate undependable narrator. Is that what it's called?
Unreliable.
Unreliable narrator.
He's never really a narrator.
Well, I thought the Tony that he lives inside of my mouth, Tony was a narrator.
No, The Shining is just standard third person.
Tony.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
You're right.
Cujo is another
he's right about Cujo too. He just doesn't try to do too much.
I read Cujo.
You wouldn't like it at all.
No, I would not.
It would bother her because she's such a dog lover. So.
I don't handle dog trauma very well.
I understand there was one scene in a book called Caught Stealing by Charlie Hudson, where it's a guy who rescues a cat and then gets caught up accidentally in a major drug dealer, drug trade. And there's a scene where the bad guys have his cat and they're going, "You want me to break the cat's leg?" And I'm going, I can't take that, because I got 3 of them in my house. And
yeah, that is tough to read.
Have you read My Best Friend's Exorcism?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a scene in that book that he should have told me about. Just
Greg,
saying.
you might actually like it because it leaves everything. It leaves a lot of ambiguity for you for you to determine what you believe. And
It's a disturbing book.
yeah, kind of like in the book The Exorcist, which I like a whole lot more than the movie because there's a little bit of ambiguity in The Exorcist, the book, where there is none in the movie. They make up your mind for you. So
Right.
My best friend's exorcism was kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
I love psychological horror.
I just read a short story by Grady Hendrix. It was from an Amazon deal. They had a creature feature in October.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And he actually had the best of the 6 short stories, I think.
Okay.
And I've never read anything about him before. It's also the shortest, but he really amazed me with that short story. When you read a short story, I know where this short story is going. Okay, no, it's going to go this direction. No, go in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it's just a short story. So the one thing about Grady Hendrix, I'm still sort of pissed at him for doing Paperbacks from Hell. And now all paperbacks are so expensive.
Yeah, you can't buy those things anymore, for under like $20 or $25 used. And now they've reprinted a bunch of them, and these little tiny paperbacks are $18. I'm like, are you kidding me?
But they do have that lovely little sticker in the upper right hand corner. It says
It says Paperbacks from Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I buy the Kindle version, so the Kindle versions are only like $8, and that's okay.
Okay, yeah, that's not bad. But yeah, My Best Friend's Exorcism, it does have a lot of teenagers in it. But yeah, and that usually doesn't work for me too. But Grady Hendrix wrote them, where you actually have somebody to root for and where you actually enjoy these characters. So very unusual for me.
Okay.
Yeah, really good teenagers is the guy who wrote Clown in a Cornfield. What's his name?
Adam Caesar.
Adam Caesar. He writes really good teenagers.
Yeah.
I have not read him.
Clown in a Cornfield, also disturbing.
Yeah.
It's kind of rough considering it's a YA novel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness gracious.
Let's see. You're thinking of The Outsider, Scott.
That's the one. The Outsider.
All right.
S.E. Hinton. S.E. Hinton?
No, this is Stephen King, The Outsider.
Oh, The Outsider. Okay.
Yep. That's March. We're doing that one.
It is very good. Yeah.
Folks, thanks for the great discussion. I have to be up before the sun. Alan is a fellow Oregonian. The bridge that separates West Lynn and Oregon City is one of my favorite bridges. Well, good night. I'm sure you're long gone, but good night. Cause and effect. The butterfly effect is an old idea that I think is pretty good. Cool. Bradbury came up with a crazy result of the butterfly being trodden on. That was the point. Okay. Now here's a guy, Scott Becky. Old science fiction stories.
Yes.
There's one that I read in my science fiction class at university, freshman year. It was collected in the Roads to Science Fiction. I don't remember the title of the author. But you have a group of scientists who are sure they've created a time machine. And they're going to go, we're going to test this. We're going to send one particle back into time to show that you can travel without ruining any sort of timeline. Okay? And that's the whole argument. They go back and forth. They turn the machine on and they go, see, it didn't work. It didn't work. And then he described the people that used to be human, these blobs of green goo floating around the room or whatever. You have no idea what they've done to the timeline.
Wow.
That's fun.
That doesn't sound familiar to me. I need to look that up though.
It was a great story.
Cool.
I don't know, realistic, but it was a great idea because you never know what would happen if you actually went back and changed things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that if you go back far enough, that new future becomes your entire present. You've lived it your entire life.
Mhm.
Why would they think they would know what was different?
Right. It was good.
But the whole idea of time travel scares me, honestly.
Plus, if Manu's Bakery is still around, the best long. Oh, he's talking about stuff in Portland right there.
Okay.
Well,
Manu's Bakery is still around. Best maple long johns ever.
oh no, I don't think it is. I've not heard of it.
Now I remember there was you have Voodoo Donuts.
Yeah, and then they had Blue Star Donuts.
Right? But he's talking about the long maple
That's like an eclair.
Oh,
Okay.
donut. It's place in Washington was called Legendary Donuts. They called it the Oprah.
oh, really? Wow.
Like a long
The
donut
Oprah.
with maple syrup on top and bacon.
I said that with the deep.
Oh, yeah, they have those at Voodoo. They have those at Voodoo Donut. I'm not a
Bacon.
big donut person. Although, I mean, don't put them in front of me. I'll eat them. But
Oh, I missed those Oprahs. Those were so darn good.
oh wow, yeah.
The
When
bacon,
Jim reads to Jim reads a lot. No, Jim reads too slow. Him and his wife visited me this year, and we went to Voodoo Donuts. It was like the first time I'd ever been there, and I've lived here 14 years.
Very cool.
So
Voodoo
Dave
Donut.
likes Nosferatu. Sorry, guys, that was autocorrect. Lee, whose idea was the Storathon. Vin from Revenant Reads came up with the Storathon. William, there's actually 3 versions of the stand. The middle version is the 1980 paperback where the setting was changed from 1980 to 85.
Wow, cool.
I did not know about that. Okay.
I only know the 2, the original, which was the 70s,
Yeah,
and then the revised one, the longer one, which he updated like 10 years.
and then the uncut.
And I remember reviewers commenting because in the text they were still talking about the economic downturn. He goes, there was no economic downturn in the revised. That was the 70s original. You just forgot.
Okay.
I have not heard about this one, about a 3rd version. I just never heard about it.
There's one called Uncut. I think is the 3rd version.
That's the 2 I'm thinking of. The
uncut one. Huh? I don't know that either.
I don't know about the other version he's talking about.
IDK.
Story. Yep. There's Gareth saying, yep. All right. Thanks, Finn. I need to check them again. See what time group we are up to. I really loved this year's. It gets reset in January. I have just finished the Book of Merlin last night, thanks to Steve Donahue. Wow, I was blown away. I found it very poignant and thought-provoking.
I have that book, but I haven't read it yet.
Who wrote the Book of Merlin? Is that T.H. White?
I can't remember if it was T.H. White or if it was after that. Yeah, Becky's going to look it up real fast. But yeah, I have the Book of Merlin. It's a really small book. But yeah, I hear it is T.H. White.
Okay,
yeah.
That's the part of Sword in the Stone or X or whatever.
The Once and Future King is book number 5.
King. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's book 5 of the Once and Future King. Okay.
All right.
I guess it's split into 5 books then. I didn't know that.
Lee, right? I might need to get something that I don't have on the shelf. We're going through Storathon questions. We are starting all over again. Pick up what we didn't get to read. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Hey,
That
Courtney.
must be what.
How late am I, Courtney? When did you put You put this at 9:25, and it's only 9:29. Yay,
Cool.
Courtney, you may actually be relatively on time, or I may be relatively on time.
Yeah, Becky will be
Hey,
right
Courtney.
back.
Courtney's here.
Beth Penny, if time travel existed, would you travel to the future or the past?
The past.
My
I live in the past.
my answer to that is a little more nuanced. I would say, do we know what happens in the future? If we know nothing, I'd rather go to the past.
Well, yeah, you could go to the future and discover that our planet has no atmosphere because we burned it all off.
Right, and be dead when you get there.
Right.
So yeah, probably to the past if I had no idea what was coming. What was coming.
Or you were safe inside your time ship or wherever. You can just peek in through the window and go, "Ooh,
All I know is
go."
Yeah, if I had a TARDIS, I'd probably be okay.
all I know is that the past. The past isn't dead. It's not even the past.
Right. But I guess this is a curious question. Where in the past would you want to go to?
Wow.
My high school. I'd like to relive my high school again. I had it going on.
Yeah, I didn't have the happiest childhood, so I would probably go back.
Well, you don't have to relive your life. You're just going to the past.
Yeah.
Ah.
I have come back holding a gift.
Okay. Come
Kind
here.
of like Westworld.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I would go back. If you could go back to the past, where would you go?
Like Westworld or something.
Oh God!
I wouldn't go to the West.
I think going to California in the 60s would be a lot of fun.
Sure.
Okay.
That surprises me, Greg. That surprises me. You just say that.
The question is, I would know everything I know now, right?
I presume so.
Sure, yeah.
Than the 1500s. I'd have a much better chance of not dying than like 90% of everyone else. But yeah, definitely the 14 or 1500s.
Okay.
Oh. Middle Ages.
No, you know what I'd say? 1969. I'd want to go back and see the beginning of like heavy metal music, and hit all these concerts. That of all these bands that I know are going to be huge later, Black Sabbath and stuff like that. That's where I would go.
Yeah, I'm going to think my middle ages. They'd burn me at the stake.
Yeah, you say the wrong thing, and all of a sudden,
yeah.
I wouldn't go back to the West if I were. I would not choose the West. I mean, I love reading about that time period. But I'd be a drunk, and they'd throw me out of the bar, and I'd be all beat up and all that.
you go far enough to the past, and you won't be able to communicate.
That's true. 1500s are still speaking middle. Just starting modern English.
You
still speaking middle English there.
Potentially start getting by like in Chaucer's era after a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd be pegged as a foreigner so darn quick, and
like an alien.
Yeah, and picking up books from that time would be very difficult to read. Read in that
books
form of English.
Books in that era. I can read Middle English, but they weren't writing in Middle English at that point.
Well, when I think of the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, I think of Dante. I'd be over there in Italy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be in Florence.
Or in the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that too.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. You go see the old Renaissance art. My God.
No, it's being made.
Wouldn't be old Renaissance. It'd be new art back then.
Yeah, true.
I have to go back to 1066. Nobody knew what language they were speaking then.
Yeah.
It was all the sort of pidgin languages until William the Conqueror came in and like bastardized everything with French.
Mm-hmm.
I know him and William of Orange, bastards.
William, that's what fiction is for. I get to safely travel without judgment and try to answer what if questions. That's the best way to travel in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, so here's Christina Alvarez. If I could travel to the past, I would like to see the city of Chichen Itza. I'm not getting that right. Before Cortez arrived.
Oh,
It'd be fun to watch. I don't want to meet any of the Aztecs. I'm sorry. I've read
No.
the Aztecs and
sorry,
Yeah,
no.
Wait a second.
I don't think they go. Let's see. Let's offer you up to Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, I saw. I just watched it was yesterday. I watched an Aztec documentary on YouTube, and it was about the human sacrifice and how everyone thought that it was just made up until they actually found mass graves and burial grounds of.
It was the same with the Druids.
Of sacrifice victims, and they were saying there was one day of human sacrifice where they think about 8,000 people were sacrificed.
Oh my God!
Yeah, there was also war prisoners were also sacrificed.
Wow!
And what happened was I went to Mexico a few years ago. We went to see Chichen Itza, which was it was a fairly big Aztec settlement, and they showed these cenote, where the guide was saying they sacrificed babies.
Yeah, right.
For those that don't know, the cenote are like deep water wells.
Yeah. But I remember one of the women who was listening got really angry. Just a mother would never sacrifice her child.
Oh Lord!
And I mean, she was visibly upset.
Wow.
And I didn't want to say anything. Man, they did sacrifice their children.
Yeah.
I mean, now, I don't know if they did it totally voluntarily, but back then, if you believed that something good would happen if you gave your child to the god, you're going to give the baby to it,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, your baby would no longer struggle or suffer or anything, and that's right. That's what they thought.
They had a very different way of thinking.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Chichen Itza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we saw Chichen Itza as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think traveling to the past depends heavily on whether or not I had an invisibility cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of time. I mean, where you don't want to go to the past, really.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of places in the past where most of us wouldn't be directly in danger.
Well, that's why I picked the 60s in California.
Yeah.
I would not be really in any danger back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear something funny?
Sure.
When Becky just said cloak, I immediately went back to third grade and when they used to call it the cloak room.
Yeah.
We have to hang up our coats, but they call it the cloak room.
Mm-hmm. They sure did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that as well.
That's happened. So I just traveled in the past.
Yeah, I went to private school and for a long time called it that. And then we went to actually we didn't go to school after that. We were told to teach ourselves at home. So we were left at home by ourselves and taught ourselves. Greg, when we were talking the other night about how I grew up, that was one of the things. I was not allowed to go to school or anything. We just stayed at home.
Thinking for yourself was frowned upon.
Yeah.
Huh.
All right. So, Gareth, I've got some vague memories of my childhood that I would like to see by traveling back in time to clarify what it was.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I have a really good memory.
And you tell that younger self, buy Microsoft stock early.
No.
Yeah.
Start throwing all that money in Apple.
Wow, I know.
William, I'd like to ask someone else to travel back and tell me my past self to make different decisions.
There you go.
There you go.
That's a good one.
No bad. I just ate some yummy chicken. My belly is full.
Good on you, Bad.
Good for you. I had
Congratulations.
garlic mussels for dinner on rice. That was really delicious.
Wow. That sounds
I'm
awesome.
surprised
We-
you
That
like
sounds like,
that,
it sounds
right?
like a warm plate of death.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised you like that. Mussels?
Mussels? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
Becky's allergic to shellfish.
Oh,
but
you're allergic to shellfish. Okay.
yeah, we had
Extremely.
we had mushroom bisque.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
I'll
was
listen to you guys.
delicious.
I
Becky's
haven't
mom
had
makes
dinner
a,
yet.
Becky's
I'm gonna
mom
have
makes a
orange
mean
chicken.
mushroom bisque.
I'm going to have orange chicken from Trader Joe's.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds really good.
Be good.
So Bad is catching up here. I hope everyone is doing well. I think we're having a good night.
Yeah, this is fun.
We haven't brought up tarot cards yet.
No,
Scott and I have been trying to do a tarot live.
All right, let's. I saw you holding those tarot cards for a while, so
Scott's familiar with this deck, the Osho Zen
yeah,
Tarot.
the
I
Osho's
was really into it, and it didn't come with a little white book. It just came with the deck,
right.
which is fine because it's all online. But I ordered the book. I got the book. I found really cheap. It was under $10.
Oh, good. Okay.
So
Is it more rider weight or is it more toss?
Neither.
Oh, really?
No, it's its own system pretty
Oh,
much.
goodness.
yeah, but it has court cards.
Yeah, it has scorecards and it has elemental.
Yeah, elementals, and it has the major arcana, but it has
23.
23 with the master. Like here's nothingness. It's all black.
Yeah.
well,
For example.
what's the card, Alan? You said no
Nothingness.
nothingness. Okay.
But other cards are really I love the art in them. They're really graphic. Like here's one that says trust, and it's somebody flying off. But I could do a watercolor of that. I want to try to do like a watercolor of that.
The funny thing about the Osho Zen Tarot, Osho was a serious cult leader.
Yeah, there he is. Here he is.
Yep. And he's dead now, but
Yeah.
he started the Rajneeshi religion, or the Rajneeshi cult is what they call it now.
Right.
But yeah, but that came out of it. That was one good thing that came out of it was the Osho Zen deck. This is the one.
I had one that came in a book, and then these small ones that were like plastic.
Yeah.
The book. I had that. And then I had like the box set too. But,
yeah.
Yeah, you can buy cheap tarot decks on that Shop Like a Millionaire, that Tumu app.
Yeah.
That's where I got this Marseille deck in Russia.
In Russian, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
in
pretty
Russian.
cool.
Look.
Yeah, I have a Russian Lenormand deck as well.
Yeah, I tried to get into that. A few years ago. That's a complicated system.
Yeah, it's really different. See, I use this one. This is the Toth Tarot. This is one
Yep, I've got that too.
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the Toth deck is based on Aleister Crowley teachings, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's based,
you said his name right. Call me Crowley, for I am holy. To call me Crowley is to treat me foully.
Yeah.
Call me Crowley, for I am holy. Yes.
Yeah.
I was in Thelema for a while. I went through the Golden Dawn system. I went through BOTA, Builders of the ATM. It's a mail order thing. It takes you like 10 years to do it. But yeah, when I lived in Phoenix, I was really into tarot.
Yeah, the BOTA tarot. Oh my God, that's a rough system.
Yeah, Paul Foster Case.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, now I don't know a whole lot about tarot card, but you're talking about, is there a real difference in the reading of the cards, or is it just the artwork on the cards? Like you said, like the Crowley New Dawn deck would be different from what's it, the Rider deck or something?
Right, there's like a traditional system and non-traditional, I call it. Crowley's would be like non-traditional, and Rider-Waite Smith is traditional.
Yeah, I would say Rider-Waite Smith is Marseille is as traditional as it gets, because that's that's about as early as it gets. And then Rider-Waite came along, and then for like 30 years it was nothing but Rider-Waite, Marseille, and clones of each one. And then this deck came out, and it's different. It's got different symbolism. I mean, it's way different, but it is sort of, I would say it's actually based a little more on the Marseille than it is the Rider-Waite. But are there differences in readings? Yeah, I would say there are, but I see it as more of a psychological system than anything else. I mean, that's just kind of how I see it. I see it as a little less esoteric, a little more psychological, because I mean, my background is in psychology, so I try to see it in the sort of in a more Jungian sense than.
Right. I was just going to say Carl Jung.
Yeah.
And his archetypes and the fool's journey and that. But I think if you're asking Greg, like all these tarot decks, like the cat tarot or the vampire tarot or the gummy tarot, whatever, those are usually based on Rider-Waite Smith.
Okay.
System.
Yeah. I would say so. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're saying traditional. I think these days the Rider-Waite Smith is the traditional.
Yeah, the biggest majority of tarot decks are based on those three systems: the Marseille, the Toss deck, and the Rider-Waite series or decks.
Yeah,
I have a deck I really like called the Tattoo Tarot. That's a Marseille based deck.
That's a really pretty deck too.
Yeah, I like it. I have two copies of it. One is like it's half gone because I keep giving cards away to people, like in the mail. Now I'll mail you one, Scott.
So
I mailed Greg one already.
If when I was in Philadelphia, they had the Philadelphia Art Museum, and they had like a Philadelphia tarot deck.
Oh yeah, cool. You mentioned that.
And I'm guessing that's just like based on like the traditional deck, and they just hire a new artist to paint Philadelphia scenes on the cards.
That's really cool. Yeah, but even in those, they'll actually still base it on a certain deck. Like I had a New York tarot deck from. You remember that woman that I bought that from, and she actually took the photos that it was based on. Like she had all sorts of, popular New York people like Moby and some of the actors and stuff on the cards. She got permission to take their pictures, and she set them up like the Rider-Waite deck. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I mean, the great thing about it is you can tell a lot about somebody by what they see in the cards. It's a conversation. It's a conversation starter. That's the number one thing about the tarot deck. Mm-hmm. It's a conversation starter. It helps. It helps to get people talking about their issues, and
it helps people make decisions.
It helps people make decisions. Yeah.
How about this for a question? We're talking about time travel and whether you want to go in the past or future. You might agree. Most people want to know the future. But some people want to go back in the past, with questions, past lives, or primarily, I used to get questions about love, and then it would be health, like health of another relative, or then it'd be money.
Yeah, yeah,
money of some kind, real estate, job.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when I did readings for a living, and I got to where the people that were coming back were the ones that had questions about, you know, how can I fix this in my life? And those are the people that continue to come back, are the ones that had the questions about, how can I do this to make my life better, or what can I do to get a better job? And then you just sit and it becomes a conversation, and the best thing is when they come up with their own answer. It's kind of a humanistic approach, and I kind of always enjoyed that. I enjoyed coming out with a humanistic approach and saying, hey, if you can come up with your own answers, then we're done.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean that's the same way a counselor does it. But then again, that's like I said, my background and my degrees and stuff are in psychology, and so that's how I use it. I tried to use it the way that Jung used it.
Now, honestly, if they feel better by the time you're done, you've done your job.
Yep. It's all about getting somebody to see something from a different point of view, and once you've done that, well, that person is better to answer their own questions and to make their life better. Right. So I think that is what this is all about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that was my passion in life for a long time. Was well, yeah, it was tarot, but it was more helping people with issues. I mean, I did that for a lot of years, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking for my Jungian tarot book. I can't seem to find it with my other.
I've got that book too. Yep, Becky got me that for a gift a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people are surprised by that, by the fact that Carl Jung was a very interested in the spiritual and tarot.
Yeah. This is an old tarot book. This Joseph Campbell.
Oh, cool!
I've had this for decades.
Very cool. Yeah, is that based on the hero's journey?
It's based on all kinds of stuff, like symbolism.
Yeah, there's the world.
Yeah.
That makes sense. The Fool is very, very much a component of the hero's journey.
Yeah,
you think about it, he's just starting out on what's possibly an adventure on his course.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I like it.
Card number 0. But yeah,
so here's a question for both. I guess this would be for you guys. Is a reading based on your interpretation of the cards? Would I get a different reading from each of you with the same cards?
Yes.
Yeah, Alan, you want to go first?
No, go ahead, Scott.
Okay. The way I see that is if we were to pull the same cards, we might tell a slightly different story. You know what I mean? But I really do believe, but if we approach it and you're a part, and if the querent is part of the conversation, then a lot of the time it's going to come down to almost this, it'll be different roads to get to the same place.
Yeah, and I didn't.
You know what I mean?
The current. Yeah, I didn't think about the person asking the questions. Yeah, you're right. I can see that.
Yeah, because really, I mean, what you're trying to do is just get them in a place to where they can fix their problem. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So Scott, really, what you're saying is, if you were all to draw the same cards, the interpretation would be different with the person sitting in front of you, right? So if the person sat with Alan and you had the same cards, it'd be different with a different person because.
Yes. Because it's 100% based on context.
Right.
So I don't like it when somebody comes up and says, just do a general reading on me.
Like a blind reading.
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like that at all. And I don't like that at all, because that's just them saying, well, and I hate the word psychic. I hate it, and then they come up to you and they say, well, you're the psychic. I'm like, I never claimed to be a psychic. I never
I
once
don't mind
said that.
blind readings sometimes. I don't mind blind readings, like at a party.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you hit right, then let me tell you a quick story, and then you can tell me one of your tarot stories.
Okay.
Like I'm sure we've had people like cry in front of us and get mad or whatever.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was reading in prison because we can get tarot cards in. I even had a big deck. And I was reading I was in the joint a few times in Arizona, so Spanish people. And had an interpreter, and we were reading for these people. I'd read for cigarettes, like top, roll your own top packages back in the day. This is back in the 90s. And so one time this guy, I said, I see violence. I see a shooting. He asked a question about his brother. And I finally got around to it, like, is your brother alive? And he goes, no, I had two brothers. One was dead. I saw one was shot, and he got like all excited and he ran out. I thought he was mad. This is in the joint. I go, oh shit. I go, Johnny, I might need your help. And all of a sudden, him and a bunch of his homies, a bunch of vatos come walking up. I'm going, Johnny. They all wanted me to read for them. They're throwing candy bars and chiclets and Snickers bars. I had them all lined up to read for them. But
yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Let me think of a good story. Probably about one of my early querents. Her name is Tanya. That's all I'll give you. And she came to me with the question, what is going on in my life? What has happened? I've lost my husband. I can't, I'm having trouble because she was trying to have kids. She couldn't have kids. Just a whole bunch of stuff had gone on in her life. And she was like, what has happened? I would like to change, but I don't know how to do it. And so she asked for an email reading, which is a very interesting and fun way to do it, actually, even though you can't really ask questions, but she asked for, give me 7 or 9 cards, whatever it is you do. And so I laid out some cards and all this, and it was pretty much the reading, and everything I got from her was like, you don't know, you're not ready for change. It's like you're just completely not ready for change. And I knew her pretty well, so I kind of knew that. But then when I looked at the cards, man, I saw stuff like, where the 5 of Swords, she's fighting with herself. Intellectually, and intellectually, she's not ready to do anything. And so I sent her the email, and she came back the next day, and she was like, she wasn't very happy. Just like you said, you were a little worried because that guy didn't seem very happy. Well, she didn't seem very happy, and I had to work with her every day. Well, about 2 weeks later, she finally came to work and started talking to me again. And yeah, about 2 weeks later, and that she finally started talking to me again, and she was like, you're 100% right. I wasn't ready to change. So within 3 months, she was in a good relationship. She was pregnant. She had this happen. She had that happen. She got off the drugs. She got away from this one friend who was awful, just an awful influence on her. And she said that email, she still has it to this day, like 12 years later. That email completely changed her outlook on everything. And that is what kept me going, with doing the reading.
At first she was upset. At first she didn't like the news, huh?
No, she didn't. And that's another thing. That's another thing you got to look for with people. You got to be careful with people. If you start telling people exactly what they want to hear, they're going to come back for the wrong reason. And you're going to get a bad name. You're eventually going to get, look at the kitty. You're eventually going to. You're eventually going to get the the charlotte. People are going to start calling you a charlatan, and you're just telling people what they want to hear and all this stuff. Sometimes, exactly. Sometimes people just get pissed off. That's just the way it is. But those are the people who you help.
Yeah, you can't be afraid to tell people what you're seeing.
Yeah, you can't be afraid to tell people, hey, you're not ready for that.
That's why I like going back and forth to get different decks, because I get in the habit of like the Four of Swords means rest, the Two of Swords means stop. So instead I try to look and actually see what's on the the nuances and that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And people ask me about learning, and they're like, man, how do you learn all that? And I'm like, well, by doing it. I mean, you do it. People are afraid to play.
Start by doing daily, just one card a day, and write in a journal.
Exactly.
Your own interpretation of it.
Yeah, I used to teach classes, and what I would tell people was, play with the cards. There's nothing wrong with that. They're cardboard. This is not. These are not sacred. These are not sacred. These are made of cardboard.
And there's nothing sinister about them.
Yeah. So so I'll tell people, watch a movie, lay out 3 cards, and then explain how these cards talk about that movie. You know what I mean?
That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Because every card has context. Every card is going to be slightly different based on the question.
Right.
So,
do you know a guy named Dusty White, the writer? He's got a few tarot books out. Dusty White. I think that the easiest way to learn tarot ever. But books like that, but they're really good books, and they're from like the 2000s. But he's really popular online.
Cool.
Let's see. We talked about Lon Milo Duquette.
Yeah,
I was lucky enough to meet him in Newport Beach, California.
I always wanted to meet him. He's cool.
Yeah, we were talking about Noah. Noah and I did a thing with Duquette about Enochianism. Enochian. Yeah, Noah and I, it was like a 2-for-1 thing that I said. I said, no, you want to go? It was online. But that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I haven't been, I read off and on, but I haven't been involved lately up in Portland since Thelema had a temple, and they moved from downtown to way out, and I don't drive. So I can't get in touch with them.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I wouldn't mind doing a live tarot thing with you sometime.
Yeah, I would actually enjoy that. Just trying. Yeah, I just need to get a good day to do that, and we can do that. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Let's now, definitely do that.
Do you read, Becky? Do you read at all?
I could.
She could.
I could. I don't. I like to joke with Scott that I don't have an intuition to speak of. My intuition bone is broken.
I see. Huh.
No, her confidence bone is broken. She's a storyteller. She's a storyteller, so she should be a natural reader in some ways.
I don't trust myself not to embellish.
I know.
I think that's
that's the confidence.
Yeah, I think there's the problem. I have this tendency. I want people to be happy, and I don't like it when people are upset with me.
Well, I don't know if you guys know Llewellyn, and they did a series of these publications, and I like this tarot out of the box. It came out like 2000.
Yeah.
2000. Well, I read it in 2015.
Yeah.
But it has like how to tell stories with tarot cards and so I've been reading that. Can't wait to get the Osho deck book that should be coming in the mail this week.
Cool.
That'd be a fun way to develop your tarot skills and your storytelling skills. Lay out 3 cards for past, present, and future, and make up a story on the spot with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Called tarot improv.
Yeah,
tarot prof.
See, people talk about tarot like it's this weird thing that everybody sees as sacred and all that, and there are people who do that. I see them as cards. I see them, they help me start a conversation. They help me to talk to people. They help me help people fix their problems. And where does that come from? I have no idea, and I don't really care to know. I just know it works for me, and that's what I want to know. Does it work for me? And it works for me. So that's the reason I keep up with it.
I've been studying them since I was like 15 years old.
Yeah, I was 18 when I bought my first ones. Yep.
That book by is it Erwin Gray? That was like my first tarot book, and I was like 13, 14, 15, and I had a typewriter then too. And would cut and paste, you'd have to cut and then glue it. That would be cut and paste, and then take it to Kinko's and copy it. But yeah, back when I lived with my grandma and I was in my early teens. But so it is just doing it, be open to different systems and be open to the I Ching, be open to, Crowley. Crowley did so much for magic. His books are incredible. Like, 777 is it?
Yeah, I have that book. Yeah.
Yeah, just for the correspondences alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people can't get past the stigma that Crowley had around him.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there are a lot of people that have that kind of stigma that didn't deserve it.
Yeah. Well, he's just one of the more popular.
Well, he enjoyed this. He enjoyed being the.
He probably does.
Yeah, he enjoyed being the butt of that stigma.
Okay. So we've been at this a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask one other quick question before calling it a night, I think. What BookTube events are people looking forward to in 2024?
Okay. You want to go first?
I'll go for. I am so excited about Horror Mayhem. I mean, I know it's our event, but I love that event. So many people pop out of the woodwork that you've never met before. Like, hey, I'm starting my channel because of Horror Mayhem, and I'm like, I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's one of the greatest things about events.
I love it. And for some reason, horror really, really draws people together. It doesn't make much sense to me, really. And so it's supposed to be this horrific thing, but everybody is always on top of it. They love it so much. And it's almost like a month-long festival for me. I love it.
Yeah. I got a couple that I'm looking forward to. Horror Mayhem. Also, Brandy is doing Vampire and Maypire. It's all about reading vampire books, and I'm going to do that in April. Like, I want to read all vampire books pretty much in April. So
yeah. I've got a copy of Dracula. I've never read Dracula.
Cool.
I saw Bram Stoker's apartment in Dublin where he wrote it, but never read it. I've got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. I read that this year. Was it this year or last year?
Last year.
Last year for the first time.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Horror Mayhem, of course. And let's see. There's a whole bunch. I mean, I want to try to get a few in for Historathon.
Yep.
And of course, New Worlds November is my favorite because science fiction is my favorite. So, and we're going to get back to that, and I'm really excited. Yeah, those are the ones I'm looking the most forward to, I guess. I
like Marching Mammoths. I don't know what book I'm going to read or what we're going to read. And then I like to promote my Faulkner in August for our sixth.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'll be giving away a book, and Greg will be
Faulkner
giving away a book probably.
I am giving away a book.
Yeah. I said probably. Yeah, you always do. Or like last time, nobody claimed it, right?
No, I offered twice, 2 years in a row, and no one ever claimed it. So this year.
Yeah.
Well, the ones that claimed mine.
I will be joining you for Faulkner in August.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I will join you for Faulkner in August.
Cool.
I'll probably actually read A Light in August. I've never read it, so isn't that what it's called? A Light in August.
Favorite. That's my favorite.
Yep, that's the one I want to. Oh yeah, Juno on the Range. I forgot about Juno on the Range. Yeah,
I'll be doing Juno on the Range.
And that's Garb August.
I'll be doing Victober.
Yep, Garb August. I completely forgot about Garb August.
I'll be doing Garb August this year.
Yeah, Becky doesn't have to change what she reads for Garb August.
Yeah, I'm going to finally read that Chances by Jackie Collins. The Nettie. Now I was supposed to read with Nettie, but Nettie flew away. She'll be back.
Just kidding.
I know. And then there's always like the surprise event that you're never expecting that comes up. Like last year we did BookTube at War. When did we do BookTube?
Yeah.
I did a lot of that.
I heard about that one.
I'd probably do it again, but I was way too ambitious where I tried to read a book from every nation that participated in the war. And I just like, okay, just way too ambitious.
That's rough, yeah.
And I just picked World War II. It's like, okay, it's just way too much. Too many nations. But I read a lot of interesting things looking at that. So.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm also Horror Mayhem, June on the Range, Garb August, New World's Adventure, and of course, Cthulhu Christmas in December.
Oh, yeah. It'll be our third one. Be our third one. Yep. Yeah, I'm like halfway through this biography of Lovecraft. I'm learning a lot, from where he got his prejudices from. And, he wasn't the best looking guy in the world. He had a long, elongated jaw. And
strange looking guy.
Looking at him. He didn't like people looking at him or, just.
And you wonder how much if that affected him,
right.
just being like, you look at him and go like, yeah, he just
looked. You look like he came from the sea.
I don't like your face.
There's a new book coming out too. It's called Weird Tales Boys. And it is about the stories that Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith, and Robert Howard came out with in Weird Tales. And they're kind of compiling them, all three of those, into this. I don't know if it's like a biography or if it's just talking about their stories from Weird Tales. But it was just released, and I'm going to get that next week. I'm excited about reading that.
What's it called? Weird Tales Boys?
Weird Tales Boys. Yep. Oh. Right now it's a $24 paperback. It just came out in paperback. But what happened was they released the hardcover and then it sold out, and then it's just now coming out in paperback. So that sounds really cool. So I'm buying that next week. I cannot wait to read it.
My nose is freezing.
Yeah, it's getting pretty cold.
I look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I know. Yep. I got a cold nose. It's like, 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, right now.
I love it.
Weird Tale Boys by Stephen Jones.
Yes. And I believe it's about the stories that they wrote. There may be a few stories in it too. I'm not 100% sure. But, yeah.
It does not have a Kindle version. It does not have an audio version. It just has a paperback version.
Exactly. Just like the original. Well, it had a hardcover version, but they completely sold out. Really, really quickly, they sold out.
Okay.
Yeah. So since there's not a Kindle version, I'm going to end up having to buy the paperback, which is fine.
Yeah.
I hope it lasts until next week because the hardcover sold out so fast.
Wow.
Hmm.
Oh, God, sorry.
There we
I
go.
am so sorry.
Well, this was fun, guys.
It was. So, okay. We
Yeah, we talked about
2
a
hours
lot
and
of stuff.
15 minutes. I think it was a great show. Scott,
Yes,
Becky.
we greatly enjoyed this,
I
guys.
agree. I'm over here. I'm waiting for the dogs to come back in. I'm sorry. I had a great time.
Indeed.
Yeah, Becky. Glad you could join us too.
And to the people remaining in the chat room, I hope everyone has a good day or evening, depending on where you are.
Absolutely.
And maybe we'll see you in another chat in another week.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for
later.
having me.
You're very welcome. We love having this every week. All right.
Cool.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Bye.